Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the all-new Pixel 6a. This comes out fairly soon and comes in at a fairly reasonable $449. Thanks to Google for sending this along early, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we'll unbox it, set it up, and then of course compare it to other phones as well. So let's go ahead and open the packaging here, and this comes in three different colors. It comes in sage, chalk, and charcoal. Based on the box, I believe it's charcoal, and you can see on the back here with the different options, it says charcoal, and then also 5G sub 6, 128 gigabytes. So let's go ahead and open this up. So we'll take this box top off, and it's fairly thin compared to last year's 5A 5G, so they've shrunk the box size down. And then inside, you can see here's the charcoal version of the phone. We'll take the phone out, set it aside for just a moment, and let's see what we've got in here. So the box says Pixel 6a, Google Tensor. So let's see what we have here. We have a SIM card removal tool in this little box with a little bit of paperwork, it looks like. So we've got our safety, warranty, and regulatory guide, and then a quick setup guide. And it says we're here to help, and just a few details with some web links. Let's go ahead and set that aside, and as you can see in the box, there is no charger. But we do have a USB-C to USB-C cable, and then also a little adapter so we can move from one device to another, USB-A to USB-C. But no charger like we had last year. So with the 5A 5G, we had a charger. Of course, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I use Anker chargers. This is not a sponsored video, but I thought I'd mention them, and I'll link them in the description below. This is their Nano 2 45 watt. So these are typically what I use just due to their compactness. So again, I'll link those in the description. But let's go ahead and set this aside and take a closer look at the Pixel. Now let's go ahead and take the cover off here. It feels very solid in the hand and very similar to the Pixel 6 Pro. And this is 6.3 ounces or 178 grams. So it feels fairly significant and substantial, and has a 6.1 inch display. It's 2400 by 1080 with 429 pixels per inch. It's Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on the front. It also has glass on the back. Now let's go around the outside edge, and on the right hand side we have a power sleep wake button, then we have a volume button, and of course a couple lines for the antennas. On the bottom, we have a speaker and microphone, another line for the antenna, and then a USB-C port. On the left-hand side, we have a SIM card tray, and it does not have expandable storage, and 128 gigabytes is your only option. So if we go around the top, you'll see a microphone here and some more antenna lines. Of course, on the back, we have that new signature bar for the cameras, 2 cameras here and a flash. And that's it. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Now, internally, it does have Google's Tensor M2 and has 6 gigabytes of RAM. So that, along with 128 gigabytes of storage. There we go. It finally turned on, and the bezels do look to be a little bit thick compared to maybe the Pixel 6 Pro. So we'll let it boot up for just a moment here. It's booting up, says powered by Android, typical Pixel startup. Also, you can see the front camera is in the middle of the display. So we'll give it just a moment to continue booting. We'll get it set up in a moment as well. But this does support 5G, just sub 6, no millimeter wave, of course 4G and LTE also. Now, before we set this up, let me compare it size-wise to the Pixel 6 Pro and the 5A 5G. So here's the 5A 5G, very similar in size, but we no longer have the matte back. We have a glass back, of course, with that all-new design, and the fingerprint sensor has moved to the front. As far as the overall width, you can see the width here compared to the 5A 5G, and also the thickness is very similar. So you can see the thickness of the device looks basically the same there. If we compare it to the Pixel 6 Pro, the 6 Pro is much larger. As you can see here, looks very similar, the same family of devices, but definitely a bigger phone here. So width-wise, you can see the difference, and also thickness-wise, the Pixel 6 Pro actually looks like it's about the same, but has that camera bar sticking out in the back. So again, very similar in size to the Pixel 5A 5G. Now let's go ahead and set this up. So we'll tap on Get Started. Then it says to connect to a mobile network. Of course, we can put a SIM card in it, and I'll move my SIM card over to this one. So I'll remove my SIM card out of the Pixel 6 Pro, and then we'll place it into the Pixel 6a. So the SIM card is on this side. We'll just pop this out here and place our SIM card in the tray. So here we go. Place it in there, and we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and get this set up. So we'll get started, connect to a mobile network. Give it just a moment here. Now it's asking if I want to copy my apps and data, so we'll go ahead and tap on next. And then we can use our old device, just connect it with a USB-C cable. So we'll take the one out of this box here, unwrap it. Now we'll plug into the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm running Android 13 on that one, but we'll plug it in anyway and move over our apps. We'll go ahead and hit next. It says check your other device. It's connecting and it's asking if I want to copy my data. So of course I want to copy, and we'll use my thumbprint here. There we go, and it's copying my account. It's the easiest way to set this up. Now it's asking me to choose what to copy. It's saying 3.5 of 88 gigabytes. That looks good. We'll go ahead and hit copy. So now we're at the part where we actually have to put in our fingerprint. So we'll do that, see what the sensor's like. We'll go ahead and hit I agree. We'll hit start, and let's go ahead and get this set up. There's a nice haptic feeling to this. When I'm pressing my finger down, it's asking me to move it around more. There we go. Use the edge of your fingers and get it set up. That's pretty simple. I'll add another and then we'll continue. The fingerprints have been added. We'll hit next. Then we'll continue setup. And it's asking if I want to use Google Assistant hands-free. I'll hit I agree. Of course, you don't have to do that. It recognizes my voice. I'll hit more and then hit agree. Now, of course, we can set up other things such as an email account and more. We'll hit no thanks for now. We can set that up later, and we'll let it continue. It says copying is done. That was actually really quick. It says I can disconnect the cable, and it will install 80 apps or so. So we'll hit done, and it's going to get the phone ready. It says I'm all set, and we'll swipe up to go home. And so we'll give it a moment. It's going to install all of these different apps. You'll see they're outlined, ready to install. But let's take a look at what we already have installed as far as stock apps and everything else. Of course, I don't expect any bloatware or anything. And it's installing different apps that I had on the other phone as well. So everything should be laid out the exact same way. It moves everything over. Now, like I said, this does have fairly thick bezels, but again, this is more in the mid-price category. And like I said, it's a 2400 by 1080 OLED with 429 pixels per inch and 6.1 inches. It apparently supports HDR video, so let's take a look at that since we have YouTube. So here is my iPhone review. We'll go ahead and tap on quality and see what we've got. Up to 2160p HDR, even though it's not a 4K display. We can take a look at it. Now, they do not say how bright this actually goes, but it does look fairly bright and pretty bright overall. Let's go ahead and hit play, and it looks pretty good. So definitely you can see HDR video if you want to watch that. However, it's probably not super bright compared to maybe other devices out there, but it looks pretty good overall. As it's getting set up, it is getting a little bit warm over here. Pretty typical, but that must be where the processor is. And as you can see, it's a fingerprint magnet. Now, as far as the cameras are concerned, we have, of course, our forward-facing camera, and that's actually an 8 megapixel f2.0 camera that can go up to 1080p 30. On the back, we have two different cameras as well. We have a regular camera or a wide camera, and that's a 12 megapixel f1.7 lens, and then we have an ultra-wide f2.2. This can record up to 4K 60 from the rear camera, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and unlock it. And it feels very similar to the speed of the regular Pixel 6 Pro model that I've been using. Let's go ahead and open the camera and take a look at the settings here. And you get many of the benefits you do with the other device as well, the Pixel 6 Pro. And there we go. The camera's on. Let's spin it around and take a sample here. So it says an update for the camera is available. I'll let this update and install, and then we'll try everything else. Now everything's updated. The camera is updated. All the apps are installed. And let's take a look at some of the options. So of course we have our night sight, portrait, camera, video, and then different modes here with photosphere, lens, and panorama. If we go into video, of course we should be able to go up to 4K 60 as you can see here. And then of course more settings. And let's take a look at the forward-facing camera. So here we have a couple different options for for speech enhancement and selfie illumination. Let's go ahead and see what it's like overall. So I'll rotate it here, hit record. Now we're recording from the forward-facing camera on the Pixel 6a. The audio on the Pixel has always impressed me as far as the microphone, so hopefully it's as good as the Pixel 6 Pro, but let me know what you think about it in the comments below. But the rear-facing camera should be much better than this with 4K, but the forward-facing camera should be fine for things such as conference calls and more. Of course, with a Pixel, the camera is always a strong point. It's something I use all the time with the Pixel 6 Pro. I carry this around and have used it for many thumbnails outside since it does a great job. So of course I'll have to use this to see what it's like as far as that goes, but I wouldn't expect it to be any less quality, although it does have a lower megapixel count. Now, as far as the battery, we have a 4,410 milliamp hour battery. Now, Google says this is good for up to 24 hours of battery life or up to 72 hours with extreme battery saver. So I would have to test that out. That's a very long time with extreme battery saver. Of course, most of the time you want all the features, so 24 hours seems reasonable. However, we don't have wireless charging. We do have the ability to charge up to 18 watts, though, with a USB-C cable. So no wireless charging included, unfortunately. It's something I use all the time, but just keep that in mind if it's something you want to use regularly. It doesn't have that included. Now also, this does have IP67 dust and water resistance and also has a fingerprint-proof coating that must be just for the forward-facing screen because the back glass is completely covered just from doing this video. Also, it has Wi-Fi 802.11 ABGN AC and Wi-Fi 6 and 6E. So that's something that's also here and has up to 5 years of support from Pixel updates from the date of the release of this device, and then a 1-year warranty. So all pretty good things from Google here. The one downside is you don't get a 60 Hz display. So the display is fine, but if you're coming from a 6 Pro or an S21, S22, those all have much higher refresh rates. So this with its 60 Hz display will be noticeable if you're used to higher refresh rates. If you're not, of course, it shouldn't be a problem, but just keep that in mind. It's one of the ways they've kept the cost down. A little bit disappointing, but the price is pretty reasonable compared to other mid-range smartphones out there, at least in the United States, such as the iPhone SE, and that also has a 60 Hz display. But this has a much nicer display as far as size, and of course, you've got the inbuilt fingerprint sensor. Now let's take a listen to the speakers. Since we haven't done that, we'll go into one of my videos. So here's a comparison video I made between the Pixel 6 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Let's go into the camera comparison where I have some music so you can take a listen to these speakers. So I'll rotate the microphone here. First impressions of the speakers are they're fairly loud. It did get a little bit muffled from the top speaker at the highest volumes. So if I brought it down a little bit, it sounded a bit better where it wasn't as muffled and sounds good overall, especially for a mid-range smartphone. It has good stereo sound. It sounds very wide and sounds equal as far as its volume from the top and bottom. So that's actually pretty impressive. It does help if you hold your hand like this, so it sort of directs the sound around, but in general sounds pretty good considering that it's a mid-range smartphone and it's got a nice sound as far as that goes. Of course, at the highest volumes, like I said, it distorts a little bit. And so that's the initial unboxing and overall impression. I think it's pretty good. It's built really well, feels pretty solid, and I'm fairly impressed as far as its build quality. I prefer a little bit larger phones such as the Pixel 6 Pro, but for those that don't and don't want almost double the price, I would definitely check out the Pixel 6a. Now also, let's go into the settings, see what version we have, and you can see it's 12, but let's see if we have any updates. We'll go into System, then go down to Software Update, and it says we're on the April 5th security patch. So hopefully we have an update. It says we're up to date. We should have one fairly soon, I would imagine, but that's the version it actually has pre-installed. So it's a bit behind. I would expect it to be updated very soon. But it's the typical Google software you would expect on a Pixel and looks the same as what you'd expect. Super clean and fairly fast. Of course, it could slow down over time, but everything does seem to be really nice as far as speed. Again, you don't have that 60 Hz display though. This is a pretty nice phone overall. Again, like I said, I'll have to use it for a few days. And if there's anything specific you want me to test out in this, if you want a full review, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.